guys, it's Angie from TwinFinity. I know it's been a while since I actually did my own little video separate from what Rob and I do. I've been wanting to do so many videos. I have like so many topics I want to share with you guys, but life just gets in the way sometimes. So this is a different setup than you've ever seen. I am actually going to talk about books that I have read and maybe recommend, because this was actually a video request that somebody asked me to do. So thank you for requesting this. Interestingly enough, we had a long time ago in one of our question and answer videos talked about some books. People were asking questions, but this lady and I both agreed it might just be easier if I do a whole new video than try and go back and find that question and answer video and find the section where I talked about it. So I'm going to share with you some of my favorite books. Of course, we're all different, so we resonate with different things. You may not resonate with some of the books that I'm going to recommend, and that's totally okay. And feel free in the comments, I'll say this right now before I forget, feel free in the comments to add your own books that you love, that you share, that you resonate with. And yeah, we can all share our stuff. So there's two ways I could go about this: my most favorite books or the ones that totally awoke me. So I think I'm going to go with the ones that totally awoke me first. And I'll try not to be too long-winded, but we're talking about, like, these are my babies. You have no idea. These are like my sacred beings. So I'll try not to go on and on about each book. And I'm not going to talk about each book, because then we'd really be here forever. But if we're talking about what got me sort of awakened, it was the Conversations with God books. If you guys are at all familiar with Neale Donald Walsch, I'll show that in hopes that you can see it okay. If you followed along with our story, our journey to union, this book I discovered before Rob and I even met. And it's just an amazing story of how I found it. I won't go into that because that'll be too long. But it just started to change my life. It didn't immediately change my life. It took many years to really change my life, but it awoke me. And one thing that I love is that I don't know how I got started into this, but I write the date in my books. Hopefully you can see that okay. I always write my name so that if I lend my books, they come back to me. And I write the dates that I read them. So this one I've actually read more than 3 times or 4 times. But I just kind of stopped writing the date. But the first one was April of 1997. So I met Rob in July of 1997. So this started my awakening. When I discovered these books, I just was hooked, and I couldn't wait for the next one and the next one to come out. And you can see, if you can see all this, they go from here to here and all of this. That's all of Neale Donald Walsch's work. There's maybe more now that I don't have, but I love them. I actually for years had a study group even, because they weren't just books that you read and put back on the shelf. There's so much in them that I always felt they should be studied and learned. And so I had a book club for years where we just went chapter by chapter and talked about it and shared and learned, and it changed. That's what changed my life. Not just reading the first book, but really studying it. So they're old books now. I mean, they were written in, I think, the 92, so early 90s, but it's certainly not old material. It's very still incredibly relevant. So highly recommend those if they resonate. The next book that actually did change my life and where I really awoke was Embraced by the Light by Betty Jean Eady. Sorry, cover me up there. Why this changed my life, even though you can see it's like a really tiny book. And actually I read this after I met Rob. Let's see. June 22, 99. And actually that wasn't the first time I read it. That was my own copy. I got it originally from the library. And then I was like, I have to have my own copy. Because I'm the kind of person, I must write in my books. Some people think that's horrible, and I love writing in my books. I write notes, I underline, I highlight, I do all sorts of crazy things. So why this changed my life is this was a book about a lady who had a near-death experience, and it's the first time I'd ever even heard of such a thing, of a near-death experience. And when she described what it was like on the other side, you know, whether you want to call it heaven, beyond the veil, the light, doesn't matter what you call it, but everything she described is what I remembered. And as I was reading the book and she was describing, I was remembering stuff, and it just made me remember who I am and where I come from and where we all come from. We all come from the same pure light, right? We all come from the same place. It also, though, was a hard book because it made me so yearn for the other side. It took me a long time to adapt to Earth, quite frankly. I only have in the last maybe 10 years really accepted that I'm supposed to be here. A lot of us on this path are starseeds, and so we come from very high vibrational planets, and we've done that so that we can bring all of that high vibration to this Earth at this point in time. But because we've come to such density, we struggle. A lot of us have suicidal tendencies, or we just mask things with drugs or alcohol. Luckily, I didn't have the drugs or alcohol, but I did very much have suicidal tendencies for many years. And this book brought out that, because it just made me so miss home. I just wanted to go home. I had no understanding of why I was here way back in 97, 98, of course. I didn't understand that I was a light worker. I didn't understand I was a twin flame and what my purpose was. So I just missed home. So even though it was an amazing book back then, it really, really caused me to struggle greatly. But I love her books. She has 3 that I know of, and all of them are wonderful books. Just quickly, I'll show you the other one. The other one's called The Awakening Heart. And her last one, I try to have all my books in similar, if I, start with soft cover, I like to keep in soft cover, but this one was gifted to me, so I was going to, of course, accept it. And it was her last one, The Ripple Effect. Again, beautiful, beautiful book. Just love her story. This one I read in October 26th of 2000. It's so neat. I'm really glad I did that, because it's nice to have that record. So yeah, those are profound books. If you enjoy the afterlife, near-death experience stories, all of that kind of stuff. And since we're on that topic, I'm going to branch out now to my favorite books. Both Michael Newton, all of his books. I won't talk about each one individually. Destiny of Souls, fabulous book, and Journey of Souls. Michael Newton, as well as Brian Weiss, I'll show you his books as well. They were both, or still I think are, psychiatrists, and they absolutely did not believe in past life stuff, and they had neat experiences with clients. I won't tell you too much of the story in case you want to read the books and get it firsthand, but they ended up experiencing through clients past life regression without even believing in it, and it totally changed both of their lives, both of their careers. So all their books are about past life regression, and I'm just looking for one. Here, it's right in front of me. This one was Brian Weiss's very first book, and actually I just put it back on the shelf to show you, but it's out because I just finished rereading it. I first read it in January 27th of 2012, and then I just finished rereading it last month. Yeah, end of April. And now Rob is rereading it. And this is a little side topic, but the reason we're both reading this book, me for the second time, Rob for the first time, is because we're actually going to see Brian Weiss at the end of this month. I'm so excited. So he still does. He's been doing this for over 30 years. He goes, travels, and teaches past life regression. Of course, we're not going to actually learn past life regression. I've already learned it as a technique to do on clients. But we're just going to meet him and experience a workshop of past life regression, which is my ultimate passion. Anything to do with the other side of the veil is my passion, which is why all of his books and all of Michael Newton's, absolutely amazing books. The reason I love this topic so much is because it really helps us remember who we really are, past what I always say is this mind and this body and this life. You know, we get so stuck in the 3D sometimes, and we forget who we really are and why we're really here. And we are so much bigger than we think we are. We're so much grander, and we have so much more abilities than we have tapped into. So when we understand where we come from, and we understand that we are all connected, it makes life so much easier. And that's what I love about these books. When you hear stories of people who've had many different lives, many different experiences, and you understand why they're experiencing what they're experiencing now, and that there is no punishment. There's no God up there that's judging us, that's going to punish us for anything we've done. We simply choose everything, every experience that we have because of what we've experienced in a previous life. And now we want to balance that out, which is all karma is. It's just a balance, you know. There's no, like people say, karma is a bitch. Well, it's really not. Karma's beautiful when we look at it and understand the soul's perspective. So I just absolutely love these books for that reason. I read so many books. In fact, while we're on this topic, I'll just show you. Oh my goodness. Just before Rob and I reunited, what's been like 5 years now, I ordered a bunch of books and was so excited to read them, and I haven't read a single one of these yet. So there's Illuminating the Afterlife, The Spiritual Power of an Empath, looking very forward to reading that one. The Journey After Life, Heaven is for Real, You Changed My Life, Energetic Boundaries, another good one for a lot of us, and Waking Up in Heaven. So I ordered all of these books because, of course, they're all my passion. But then Rob and I got into union and our whole life has just changed and gone a different direction. And I have very little time to read books, but I'm trying to change that because I love books. As I say, they're like my children. So now speaking of some empath books, I really wanted to address that. Empath and Highly Sensitive. This one I've definitely shared before in other videos, but it's worth another share because it's an amazing book. You can see I've got it tabbed. I got tabs everywhere. Let's see, how many times have I read this one? Oh, I've only written that I've read it once, but I don't believe that's true. I've probably read it multiple times. Why this is such a good book is a lot of us are highly sensitive on this path. Again, because a lot of us are starseeds, which means we've come from other planets. So we have a lot of sensitivities, and being in this dense energy of Earth is really hard on us. So when we can learn to manage our sensitivities and understand that being highly sensitive is not a curse, it's actually a blessing and a gift. Yes, it can be challenging when we're highly sensitive and we can't handle a lot of light, we can't handle a lot of noise, we, don't do crowds very well, we need a lot of downtime. Those can be challenging things, but all the gifts that come with it are exquisite in being highly sensitive. I mean, how many of us are gifted with, mediumship abilities, healing abilities, all sorts of different things. I'm sure a lot of you watching this have tons of your own abilities, whether you're aware of them yet or not. You'll start to tap into more and more of that. So if you are highly sensitive and you think it sucks and it's frustrating, I highly recommend this book. I'm just trying to flip through it to find some good, just to show you some underlining. Like I write, as I say, all through my books and highlight things. This one I really also like because there is a quiz that you can do. And you don't even have to buy the book to do the quiz. She's got it on her website. Her name is Elaine N. Aaron. Put that up so you can see it. Right on her website, and I think her website is Highly Sensitive Person, or if you just Google that with her name, you'll find her website. She actually has a checklist that you can do just to see, if you are highly sensitive, how highly sensitive you are. And then you can learn more about it and understand how to manage your abilities and manage your sensitivities. Because when we learn to manage them, life gets so much easier. I used to struggle greatly. Many, many years I struggled, which was also one of the many reasons Rob and I had to split up the first time, is because I was so highly sensitive. I couldn't live in his world per se. And this book absolutely changed my life. It answered so many questions for me. It helped me in so many ways. So very highly recommend it. Now the other book, and the reason it's taken me a while to do this video, I had this request probably at least a month ago to do this video and share books. But I've been holding off because there's one book I've been wanting to buy, and I haven't been able to find it in soft cover yet. And I quite frankly prefer to buy my books used, or you know, I don't like to go to brand new bookstores. I like to honor other companies and stuff like that. So anyway, I have not found this book yet, but being that I have this one in softcover, I want this one in softcover. So I haven't found it yet, but I've read it from the library. Another exquisite, exquisite book. So I just printed out a piece of paper so you could see it and get the title and what it looks like and who the author is. So for those of us that are not only highly sensitive, but also empaths, this is another excellent book. Not only does she have quizzes through the entire thing to help you distinguish what kind of an empath you are, because there's different kinds, right? We can be empathic in different ways, but she's also got a lot of different techniques and tools on how to manage being empathic. I found it incredibly useful, and I'm so excited to get my own book so I can highlight and write and make notes and do all the crazy things I love to do. I even like writing stickies from, you know, quotes that are in the books and putting them on my bathroom mirror as a way to remind me and help me to focus on what I need to. But excellent book that she's got. So really highly recommend that. I wish I had the actual book and I could flip through and show you some of the quizzes and stuff, but I'm sure you can even, you know, go online and it'll show you some of the stuff that's in it. So that's another book. There's probably more I could tell you about. Oh, yes, I wanted to tell you two more specific things. This one is sticking out for a reason. Not at all related to spirituality itself, but a lot of us on the twin flame path, a lot of us on the light worker path may have experienced sexual abuse. So I highly, highly, highly recommend this book. I was guided to this book a long time ago when I was 18 by the therapist that I was seeing at the time. I don't know if I actually wrote in here the date. I don't know if I started doing that at that young age. No, it doesn't look like it. But it was back in like 93, I think, that I first read this. And you can see I've got tabs, I've got notes. When I read this book and reread it many, many times back then, it really, really helped. So if you are struggling at all or have struggled with healing from sexual abuse, so much good stuff in here. It even talks about relationships. You can see down there I have all sorts of colors and stars and stuff like that about relationship stuff. So it's by Ellen Bass and Laura Davis. And they also have a workbook. I never did buy the workbook because I was in counseling. I was doing enough work with my counselor. But if you want, there's a workbook that goes with that. So that's another suggestion. And maybe just one more that I wanted to talk about. I know a lot of us on this path, it's not an easy path. Again, whether it's twin flame path or just ascension path, healing path, we go through a lot of challenges. And what I found helped me when I was really struggling back in the days when I was so suicidal, when I was going homeless, is I would try and find inspirational books to help remind me that other people have been through hard times and they got through them. So this was a book, and I love it for many reasons. I love the name. I love rainbows and color. Again, because color reminds me of spirit world, home. But this book just had so many little things. I mean, what's it called? The Power of Hope, right? So it's all about having hope and finding hope through challenging times. So I read this book. It might not show up because it's in a green, but I read it in October of 1998, which was, and you can see how cheap I got it too, which is good because I was going broke. It was so good for me to read, you know, just to keep me going, literally. This book helped keep me alive when I was really struggling and just wanted to go home. It helped remind me of other people have been through tough times and they've made it so that I could too. So there's that, and just other books like even the Chicken Soup for the Soul books. I find those are really helpful too if you're struggling. I also have, I think I moved it. Sorry, I'm going to step out of the picture for a minute. Where did I put it? Oh, I might have covered it up. Yes, here. I read these a lot too when I was really struggling. Hot Chocolate for the Mystical Lover, so just giving inspiration on how to stay positive when relationships are struggling, and Hot Chocolate for the Mystical Soul. Those were kind of takeoffs, I think, from the Chicken Soup for the Soul books. So anything like that, anything that's going to give you positivity, inspiration, hope. You know, there's lots of different books out there. So anyway, I just wanted to share. Thank you for the person that asked this question and wanted me to talk about my books. As you can tell, I'm very passionate about them. They are my babies. And I love sharing about them. So if you have questions or want to know more, feel free to write in the comments and I will get back to you. In other words, feel free to share your books. I always love to hear other people's, you know, what's resonating with you and what works for you, because we're all a community, right? We're all here to help and share and work together. Anyways, love you guys so, so much, and we will connect again soon. Bye. Happy reading.